Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I've got a story for you today that is equal parts heartwarming, jaw-dropping, and quite frankly, family drama level explosive. Get ready because this is the tale of how I took my 11-year-old niece on a secret luxury cross-country vacation and how in doing so I accidentally started a full-blown family feud. If you've ever had to deal with the messy dynamics of being the favorite aunt, or if you've ever felt like sticking up for the underdog, then you're going to want to hear this. Grab your snacks because this is a long one, but trust me, the ending is worth it. So let's start with the central figure in all of this, my incredible niece, Lily. Now, Lily is a truly special kid. She's 11 years old, and she's the absolute last member of the younger generation in our family. Think about that for a second. She is the youngest child. She has 4 older brothers. Yes, she's the youngest grandchild and the only girl on either side of my family. The girl is basically a unicorn. To make her story even more poignant, Lily was actually quite sick when she was little. We're talking serious health scares that lasted for a few years. Thankfully, she grew out of it, but that early period cast a long shadow. Because of all this, and because she's just naturally a charming and brilliant kid, I'm going to be honest with you, the entire extended family spoils her rotten. We just can't help it. She's our little princess, our soul girl, our miracle baby. Everyone spoils her. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, you name it. Everyone, that is, except for her parents. My brother and his wife. Now, don't get me wrong, my brother Tom and his wife Sarah are good people. They're loving, dedicated, and they've successfully raised 5 human beings. But when it came to Lily, they had this deep, almost defensive need to not spoil her. I think they worried that because she was doted on by the rest of us, she'd become entitled or difficult. So they swung the pendulum way in the other direction. The 4 boys got everything: trips, gadgets, attention. And while Lily certainly wasn't neglected, she was held to this ridiculously high, almost puritanical standard of behavior. Any sign of a preference, any request that sounded like a desire for special treatment was immediately shut down and often, oddly, punished. And that brings us to the first major inflection point in this whole insane story: Lily's 11th birthday. Lily's 11th birthday rolls around and she's beaming. She had been thinking about what she wanted for weeks. I figured she'd ask for a massive party or a fancy new game console. But no. She went up to her mom, Sarah, and made the most simple, sweet request you could imagine. She looked Sarah in the eye and she said, "Mom, for my birthday, can we just go on a weekend trip? Just you and me. No boys, no dad, just us." You see, with 4 rambunctious older brothers constantly dominating the conversation, the remote control, and her parents' attention, Lily just wanted one little slice of her mother's time, dedicated just to her. She wanted a mommy and me weekend. A girls' trip. It was innocent. It was touching. It was shut down faster than you can say disappointment. Her mom, Sarah, didn't just say no. She made a huge deal out of it. She sat Lily down and started lecturing her about how selfish it was to want to exclude her father and her brothers. She twisted Lily's desire for one-on-one time into this massive character flaw issue. She basically said, "If you want a trip without your family, then you don't deserve a trip at all." The fight went on for days. Lily cried, she apologized, she even tried to compromise, saying the boys could come but they could spend one day together. Nothing worked. Tom and Sarah decided that because Lily had requested a trip to exclude others, they would refuse to do any trip or special outing for her birthday. Punishment was not just saying no, the punishment was nothing. 0 plans. No cake, no special dinner, no friends. I was furious. I found out about this a week before her birthday. I called my brother and I tried to be reasonable. I said, "Tom, she's 11. It wasn't mean-spirited, it was a bid for attention. Just take her out for ice cream." He wouldn't budge. "She needs to learn a lesson about family inclusion, Chloe. We aren't doing the trip and we aren't doing anything else." I hung up the phone and looked at my calendar. I couldn't let her 11th birthday be defined by a cold punishment. She had already missed so much when she was little. I wasn't going to let them take this moment away from her. I called Lily's school and arranged for her to take the Friday off. Then I called my assistant and shifted some non-essential meetings. On Thursday evening, I went over to my brother's house and I pretended I was just there to say happy birthday. I pulled Lily into the kitchen, knelt down, and whispered, "Forget everything your parents said. You still deserve your birthday trip." I told her to pack a small bag, one for a weekend trip, and not to tell a soul. The next morning, I was at their door at 6 a.m., bright and early. I told Tom and Sarah that since they weren't doing anything, I was taking Lily to the city for a fun girls-only weekend, a proper 11th birthday celebration. They were still mad, but they couldn't exactly stop me from taking her on a day trip. And that's how Lily and I ended up spending 2 glorious days in a fancy hotel in the city, going to a cool museum, having afternoon tea, and watching a matinee show. It was exactly the one-on-one time she had craved. The whole time she just kept whispering, "Thank you, Aunt Chloe. This is the best birthday ever." When I brought her home, she was glowing. Tom and Sarah, however, were frosty. They felt I had deliberately undermined their authority. They told me I was reinforcing Lily's selfishness. I just smiled and said, "She's 11. She's not selfish, she's craving attention. You might want to think about why she only felt safe asking me for this trip, and not you." And with that, the first bomb was dropped and we entered a very tense Cold War. Fast forward about 4 weeks. It's time for the birthday of Lily's second oldest brother, Mason. Mason is turning 15 and he's one of those kids who knows how to work the room. He's entitled but charming in a way that lets him get away with it. Mason announces what he wants for his birthday. He doesn't want a party. He doesn't want a car. He wants a big family trip. And then he adds the kicker: "I want everyone to go to Mexico except for Lily." My blood ran cold when I heard this. I thought he was joking, being a bratty teenager. But he wasn't. Mason looked his parents dead in the eye and said, "Since she got to go on a trip that excluded us, I get a trip that excludes her. It's only fair." And Tom and Sarah, they agreed. They absolutely agreed. They looked at this 15-year-old boy's petty retaliatory demand, and they saw a perfect opportunity to teach Lily a lesson about consequences, and let's be real, a lesson aimed squarely at me. They sat Lily down and told her in no uncertain terms that because she had wanted a trip without them, they were now going on a trip without her. It was a direct, calculated punishment. Public shaming. They booked a 10-day vacation to an all-inclusive resort in Mexico for the 6 of them, Tom, Sarah, and the 4 boys. Lily was devastated. This wasn't a punishment for something she did on the spot. This was dragging up the birthday drama and weaponizing it, not just by refusing her a trip, but by flaunting a major, luxurious trip in front of her, knowing she couldn't go. She'd be left behind while her whole immediate family was on the beach. And that is when the phone call came. "Hey, Chloe," my brother said, sounding far too cheerful. "We're leaving for Mexico next Tuesday for 10 days. We need you to watch Lily. We'll drop her off Monday afternoon and you just keep her busy until we get back." That phone call didn't just ask me for a favor, it threw down a gauntlet. They were essentially saying, "You tried to undermine us. Well, now we're forcing you to be the babysitter while we enjoy the exact kind of trip you complained we weren't taking her on." I hung up, looked at the calendar, looked at my business accounts, and a single dangerous thought popped into my head. "Oh, we're going to have some consequences, all right. Just not the ones you were expecting." I wasn't going to just let my niece sit home and sulk for 10 days while her parents sipped margaritas and her brothers played in the ocean. I was going to give her a trip so epic, so unbelievably over the top, that their Mexican vacation would look like a weekend camping trip in the backyard. I had 10 days. My brother and sister-in-law had no idea what was about to happen. So, how did I manage to take an 11-year-old on a cross-country spree, hit 3 major US cities, fly first class, and visit Disney World, all without her parents technically knowing until it was too late? That's what's coming up next. I had 10 days. My brother and sister-in-law had no idea what was about to happen. When I hung up that phone, I wasn't just mad, I was determined. I was determined to prove to Lily that she was loved, she was valued, and she deserved wonderful things, especially when her own parents were using her desire for attention as a weapon. I wasn't undermining them, I was actively counteracting emotional damage, and I decided to use the only leverage I had, my job. For those who don't know, I work in creative consulting. My clients are spread all over the place, and I travel frequently. Usually my schedule is strict, but this time of year I have a little more flexibility to schedule meetings and site visits where I want them. I saw that 10-day window, and I saw an opportunity to turn a simple babysitting gig into an unbelievable, epic adventure. I looked at my client list, I looked at the map, and I started building the ultimate 11-year-old girl's dream vacation wrapped up inside a legitimate business trip. The logistics were complex, but the motivation was priceless. First stop, Miami, Florida. I actually did have a client down there I had been meaning to meet with for a 5-day consultation. Perfect. I booked a beautiful suite with a stunning ocean view. My first thought was beach time. Lily has never just had a whole day to spend building sandcastles and splashing in the waves. 5 days of sun, sand, and room service. Done. Next, I realized that we would be so close to the theme park capital of the world. Even though it wasn't required for work, I decided to build in a little 3-day detour to Orlando. I figured 2 days of travel and one glorious, perfect day at Disney World would be the absolute highlight. What kid, especially one who feels forgotten, wouldn't be instantly cheered up by the magic of Disney? And finally, I had a 2-day high-stakes pitch meeting scheduled in New York City at the end of that week. I couldn't reschedule that one. But New York City? For an 11-year-old girl? That means Broadway. That means giant toy stores. That means bright lights and the feeling that you're at the center of the universe. 10 days. 3 cities. It was audacious, expensive, and absolutely necessary. I booked all the flights, the hotel rooms, the rental car, and the theme park tickets, all on my corporate card. This was a business expense, after all. Technically, I just made sure the business being conducted was interspersed with fun outings. Now came the delicate part. I couldn't just vanish with Lily. My brother and sister-in-law were already suspicious of me, and if I had just disappeared, they would have called the police, and I would have been in actual serious trouble. I had to get their permission, or at least their passive agreement, without revealing the sheer scale of the trip. I needed to create a scenario where they had no choice but to say yes. The perfect time to tell them was not weeks in advance, but the day before their own flight. I needed to ensure that they were mentally checked out, focused only on their Mexican vacation, and in a complete logistical pickle if they said no. The Monday afternoon arrives. Tom and Sarah are buzzing with excitement, lugging brightly colored suitcases to the car, and Lily is standing by the front door, looking completely crushed. My heart broke seeing her face. She was trying to be brave, but her eyes were red and puffy. Tom and Sarah drop off Lily at my apartment. They are giving me last-minute instructions, mostly about making sure she doesn't spend too much time on her tablet and making sure she eats all her vegetables. They are totally oblivious. As they are turning to leave, keys in hand, rushing to get to the airport on time, I drop the bomb. "Oh, hey, before you go," I said, leaning casually against the doorframe, "I just wanted to let you know. I had a huge, unavoidable work commitment come up. It's a massive 10-day consultation I need to fly out for tomorrow morning." Tom immediately frowned. "Wait, what? Chloe, you were supposed to watch Lily." I know, I said, putting on my best stressed-out professional face. It was completely unavoidable. But don't worry, I figured it out. Since the trip is 10 days long, and you guys are gone for 10 days, and I couldn't find anyone on such short notice to take over for me, I'm just going to take Lily with me. I waited for their reaction. It was exactly what I had hoped for, panic mixed with resignation. Sarah stepped forward, her voice rising. "You're taking her where?" "Well, I said, acting slightly exasperated. "I have clients I need to see in Miami and then a huge pitch in New York City." "She'll be fine. She can do her homework while I'm in meetings. It's not ideal, but it's the only way I could make your Mexico trip work. I can't cancel this work, and you absolutely cannot miss your flight tomorrow morning, right?" That last sentence was the key. They had invested so much emotionally and financially into this punishing, exclusionary trip that the thought of canceling it, or even just delaying it, was unthinkable. They were backed into a corner. They had no other childcare lined up, and I had presented the situation as a sudden, professional emergency that only I could solve. They exchanged a look, a frantic, trapped look. They argued quietly for a minute. I just stood there, smiling calmly, waiting for their inevitable surrender. Tom finally sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Fine. Just fine, Chloe. But you better keep a close eye on her. And don't spoil her." "Wouldn't dream of it," I said sweetly. "Have a wonderful, restful time in Mexico." I closed the door, leaned my head against the wood, and let out a giant, silent breath. Operation Freedom for Lily was officially a go. I walked into the living room where Lily was sitting quietly on the couch, looking miserable. "Hey, kiddo," I said, putting my hand on her shoulder. "How do you feel about not spending the next 10 days doing homework on my couch?" She just looked up at me, confused. "What do you mean, Aunt Chloe?" "I mean," I whispered, kneeling down, "that your work trip just got upgraded to a 10-day, 3-city surprise luxury vacation. Tomorrow morning, we are flying to Miami." The change in her face was instantaneous. Her eyes went from dull and sad to huge, bright saucers of disbelief. She shrieked, a genuine, joyful sound I hadn't heard in months, and she leaped at me for a hug. That hug right there was worth every cent, every logistical headache, and every future argument I was undoubtedly going to have with my brother. The next morning, we were up before dawn and we were off. I made sure to take a few discreet photos of us at the airport, just to send to my brother, proving that Lily was safely with me and we were on our way to Florida for work. What my brother didn't know was that we weren't flying coach. Due to a small miracle, or maybe just some very good corporate connections and a last-minute cancellation, our tickets had been upgraded. Lily and I settled into 2 luxurious seats in first class. For an 11-year-old who had only ever flown economy with 4 noisy brothers, this was already the high water mark of her travel experience. She spent the entire flight wide-eyed, playing with the seat controls, ordering orange juice from the flight attendant, and marveling at the sheer amount of legroom. She looked over at me, tucked under a cozy blanket, and whispered, "Aunt Chloe, I feel like a celebrity." That was the goal, kiddo. That was the goal. When we landed in Miami, the heat hit us, but it was a perfect, welcoming heat. We were whisked away to our beautiful hotel right on South Beach. We walked into the room and Lily's jaw dropped. We had a corner suite with floor-to-ceiling windows and a private balcony overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. The first thing she did was run to the balcony, shouting, "It's so blue!" And then came the best part, the room service. Lily had never had room service before. Her parents are very strict about eating healthy and saving money, which is fair, but there's a time and place for indulgence. That night, she got to order a massive cheeseburger, a huge plate of fries, and a fancy sparkling lemonade, all delivered on a pristine white cart under silver cloches. She ate it on the bed, watching a movie, feeling completely pampered. We spent the next 5 days in Miami exactly the way I had planned, total relaxation and indulgence. While I spent a few hours each morning on video calls and site visits, Lily was supervised, having a blast at the hotel pool or, her favorite thing, building elaborate castles on the beach. We spent an entire afternoon shopping on Lincoln Road, where I let her pick out a brand new, fancy, sparkly dress, something her parents would have instantly vetoed as too frivolous. By the time we packed up to drive north, Lily was tanned, relaxed, and looked like a completely different kid. The sadness from being left behind had been completely washed away by the Florida sunshine and a lot of quality aunt time. But we weren't done yet. Not even close. We hit the road and drove toward the land of magic. We arrived in Orlando, and I could barely contain my own excitement, let alone Lily's. I had kept the Disney detour a total secret. She thought we were just driving north to get closer to the airport for our flight to New York. We checked into our hotel, and I handed her a gift bag. Inside was a brand new Disney shirt and a pair of Minnie Mouse ears. "Aunt Chloe, what is this?" she asked, already tearing up. "It's a uniform," I said, smiling. "We have one very important meeting tomorrow, and it involves a castle, a mouse, and some truly fantastic roller coasters. We are going to Disney World." I wish I had filmed her reaction. It was pure, unadulterated shock and joy. She jumped up and down for a good minute, then hugged me so hard I almost lost my breath. We spent a glorious, perfect day at the Magic Kingdom. I let her lead. She wanted to ride the classic rides, meet the princesses, and eat the ridiculously sugary snacks. I bought her a beautiful souvenir bracelet, and we took dozens of photos, pictures that captured her infectious, genuine smile, the kind of smile that had been missing since her birthday. It was the epitome of spoiling, and I didn't care one bit. She deserved every single moment of magic. After 2 days of recovering from the Disney frenzy, we headed back to the airport, this time bound for the city that never sleeps, New York City. Pace shift was immediate and thrilling. Going from the lazy beach days to the high-energy rush of Manhattan was like stepping onto a completely different planet. Our hotel was midtown, right in the heart of the theater district. I had 2 very intense, non-negotiable days of work ahead of me, but I had planned carefully. During the day, I hired a wonderful, trusted babysitter who was also a college theater student. While I was in meetings, she and Lily explored Central Park, visited the giant Mandem store, and grabbed real, authentic New York pizza. Lily was having the ultimate cosmopolitan experience. But the real showstoppers? The nights. Since we were right by Broadway, I had managed to snag last-minute tickets to 2 different Broadway shows. 2. Her brothers are into sports and video games. Lily is a secret theater nerd, and she was speechless. She dressed up in the new fancy dress we bought in Miami, and she sat through both performances absolutely rapt. The whole trip felt like a whirlwind of luxury and unique experiences. Beach swimming, theme parks, shopping sprees, 5-star room service, and the bright lights of Broadway. It was the kind of trip that creates core memories. The final leg of our journey was the flight home. I needed to get back in time to drop Lily off before her parents landed, just to keep the peace and finalize my alibi. And guess what? The universe truly smiled upon us. At the gate, the agent informed me there had been an issue with our seating, and they had upgraded us, again, to first class. Lily was beside herself. She got to experience the luxury of flying first class, coast to coast, twice in one trip. As we sat there, sipping sparkling cider, watching the city lights of New York disappear behind us, she turned to me. "Aunt Chloe," she said, leaning her head on my shoulder, "I don't even care that they went to Mexico now. This was the best thing that has ever happened to me." That was my win. That was the moment I knew I had done the right thing, regardless of the chaos I was about to walk into. We landed, I dropped Lily off at home, and I went back to my own apartment. I had less than an hour before Tom and Sarah would arrive. I sent Tom a final text. "Lily is safe and sound. We had a great, productive work trip. See you soon." And then the real fallout began. The truth about the trip, of course, was never going to stay secret. Tom and Sarah walked through the door after 10 days of sunny relaxation, and they were immediately blindsided by the sheer, visible evidence of my spoiling spree. First, Lily wasn't miserable. She was glowing. She had a deep, beautiful tan that only 5 days on a Miami beach can give you. Second, the souvenirs. She had a bag filled with new clothes, a fancy Disney bracelet, and programs from 2 different Broadway shows. That's a little more than doing homework while Aunt Chloe worked. Third, the stories. Tom and Sarah probably expected her to be a little quiet, a little sullen, and eager for their attention. Instead, she was an animated storyteller. She couldn't wait to tell them about the magnificent waves in Florida, the incredible rush of the roller coasters at Disney, the giant room service cheeseburger, and the dazzling costumes she saw on Broadway. She detailed the entire 10 days with the enthusiasm only a truly thrilled 11-year-old can muster. When she excitedly brought up the fact that we flew first class twice, I could practically feel my brother's blood pressure spiking from across the city. The phone calls started immediately. Tom called me first. He wasn't yelling, he was deadly cold. "Chloe, what did you do?" "I took Lily on a work trip, Tom. Like I told you I would." "A work trip? You took her to Disney World? You took her to Broadway? You put her in first class. This was not a work trip. This was a deliberate act of spite. You completely undermined us." I stayed calm. "Tom, you asked me to care for your daughter for 10 days. I had unavoidable work travel. I took her with me. Yes, I built in fun activities. She had a wonderful time. What exactly are you upset about? The fact that she was happy while you were gone?" And that's where the real core of the issue lay. They weren't mad that I took her. They were furious that my trip was infinitely better than theirs, and that my punishment for Lily turned out to be the ultimate reward. They felt mocked, and their own petty retaliatory trip to Mexico was now completely overshadowed by my surprise three-city adventure. They kept accusing me of spoiling her, of confirming her selfish tendencies. I had to remind them, she asked for 1 weekend of quality time with her mom. You responded by abandoning her for 10 days for a family trip that was specifically designed to exclude her. I simply provided the quality time she deserved. It didn't matter. The damage was done. They are still absolutely furious with me. The immediate consequence was an intense cold shoulder. Tom and Sarah started going around to the rest of the extended family, the aunts, uncles, cousins, and telling this bizarre, completely slanted version of the story. They told everyone that I had been so upset that Lily was punished for being rude by wanting a solo trip, that I had stolen their child and taken her across the country without permission. It was an unbelievable distortion of the truth. They made it sound like I was a rogue family member who had kidnapped their daughter just to spite them. This narrative, of course, caused huge drama. Some family members completely took their side, agreeing that I had overstepped, that I had spoiled Lily, and that I should have respected the parents' authority. Others, however, knowing the whole history of how Tom and Sarah treat Lily compared to the boys, completely sided with me. The family group chats were a mess, and holiday planning became an absolute nightmare. As for my relationship with them, it's definitely strained. They have restricted my time with Lily, which is the actual punishment for me. I used to pick her up from school most days, but now it's only a few days a week, and they make it very clear that they are supervising all interactions. They think they are teaching me a lesson, but I know the truth. They're just embarrassed. They're embarrassed that their punitive trip was outdone by my spontaneous one, and they're mad that I didn't let their daughter suffer in silence. So, looking back on this whole insane saga, the birthday plea, the Mexico trip, the secret three-city vacation, and the resulting family storm, do I regret it? Honestly, no. Not for 1 second. I took an 11-year-old girl who felt neglected, punished, and forgotten, and I showed her that she is special, loved, and deserves spectacular things. I gave her memories she will cherish for the rest of her life. The feeling of flying first class, the thrill of seeing a Broadway show, the pure joy of being pampered with room service. Those experiences aren't just material, they are self-worth boosters. I know some people might still think I went too far, that I shouldn't have undermined her parents' discipline. But I have to ask, was it discipline or was it emotional cruelty? Using a fun family trip as a weapon to exclude your youngest child is not teaching consequences, it's teaching resentment. And frankly, I have zero guilt about stepping in and providing a counter-narrative of love and support. My relationship with my brother and his wife is strained, yes. But I still see Lily, and when I do, she doesn't stop smiling. She wears that Disney bracelet every day. She tells me about her favorite moment on the beach. She even sends me thank you notes she's drawn, folded into little envelopes. That connection, that feeling of having protected her, is worth more than any argument. Sometimes, being the favorite aunt means standing up for your niece when her own parents are too close to the forest to see the trees. It means giving her the space and the joy she needs to grow up feeling valued. And if that means a luxury trip to 3 different cities, then so be it. To anyone out there who has ever felt like they needed to step up for a kid who wasn't getting the love and attention they deserved, listen to that instinct. Kids don't ask for attention because they're spoiled. They ask for attention because they need it. And if the adults in their life aren't giving it, sometimes you have to be the one who steps up and gives them a trip to remember. Be their champion. Be their safe harbor. You can't control other people's parenting, but you can control the love and stability you bring into a child's life. And for Lily, I will always choose to be her advocate, even if it means ruffling a few very large, very angry feathers. I hope this story inspires you to be the best advocate you can be for the people you love. And on that note, if you enjoyed hearing this ridiculous story and want to hear more tales of family drama, travel chaos, and maybe even a few more times I've overstepped my bounds for the sake of a good story, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Giving this video a like also helps tell YouTube to share my stories with more people who need a good laugh and a reminder to be the cool aunt or uncle. Let me know in the comments below. If you were me, would you have done the exact same thing? Or would you have played it safe? I want to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching.